Linear function is a function whose graph is a line. And depending on how the equations are written, they are given different names. So just kind of like a fraction, if it has 4/3, that's called an improper fraction. But if you have a 3.5, that's called a mixed number. It's kind of the same thing with the names of linear functions. So today's linear function is slope-intercept form. It's written in the form of y equals mx plus b, where m equals the slope and b equals the y-intercept. Now, a y-intercept, when you think of a graph and a line, is just simply where the line meets or intercepts with the y-axis. So let's say we have our line like this. Right here, where the line crosses the y-axis, that is our y-intercept. So let's find the slope and y-intercept of each of these functions without even looking at a graph, just looking at the equation. Now we know that it's written as y equals mx plus b, so we'll just put this here to remind us. Now when we look at this equation or this function, we see y equals negative x minus 1. Well, we know that our slope is right here because when we have a variable, our coefficient, our invisible coefficient, is always going to be 1. So our slope in this case is just negative 1. When we look at our y-intercept, it's right here. And so our b, or our y-intercept, is also negative 1. Let's look at another one. Y plus 2 equals negative 3x. Now we already know it needs to be written in the form of y equals mx plus b, and we see that this is not written in the form y equals mx plus b. So in order to make that happen, we need to get y by itself. So we subtract 2 from each side. Now notice there is no like term for this 2 on this side because we cannot subtract 2 from 3x. This does not work. So we're just going to add it over here. So now our equation looks like y equals negative 3x minus 2 because there are no like terms. Now we can see that it's written in y equals mx plus b. And so our m is equal to negative 3 and our b is equal to negative 2. What about this one? 3y plus 4x equals negative 6. Well, once again, y equals mx plus b, and it is not written in this form. So we need to manipulate this function in order to have y by itself. So the first thing is quite easy. We're just going to subtract 4x from each side. Now, notice over here, there is no x. There's no like term. So we just add it to that side. So now we're left with 3y equals negative 6 minus 4x. Now we need to divide by the 3 to get the y by itself. And when we divide by 3, we're going to divide at each section here. So we're left with these canceling out. Y equals negative 2 minus 4/3x. Okay. Now this is kind of backwards, so if you wanted to, you could even write it like this, negative 4/3x minus 2. And now it looks more like y equals mx plus b, so that we know our m equals negative 4/3, and our b equals negative 2. I think I've been writing 3 or y this whole time. Nope, I didn't. Okay. Let's look at one more. Y equals 1/2 x plus 6. Well, yay! This is already written in y equals mx plus b. So we just simply go, slope is 1/2, and our y-intercept is 6. And that is how you find your slope and your y-intercept of a function using the slope-intercept form.